showtime. Welcome to the show. I'm Brent, Holland. Welcome to Night Fright. Here comes the night. Oh, baby, have we got a great show for you tonight. On the phone waiting for us, live from Toronto, Edward Jerjian. And Edward Jerjian, of course, is an expert on the pyramids. The pyramids are far more than pyramidal shape. As a matter of fact, the mysteries that have surrounded the pyramids for ages we're going to be delving into tonight. Also, a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, one of my favorite people in the whole world, Michel Desroachers from Canada's Most Haunted, is live in the studio right now, sitting very close to me. Oh yeah, baby. Tonight, folks, get ready for a special evening on Night Fright. We're going to be talking about the mysteries of the pyramids, as well as demons, as well as ghosts, and everything that makes you scared in the middle of the night. Strap in and hang on. Here we go. Edward, just to start off, I want to introduce you to our co-host tonight, which is Michel Desroachers from Canada's Most Haunted. She's right here beside me.
Hi there.
Hi, Edward.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Very excited.
Good.
Let's start off right away, and let's start off with Edward. Edward, what got you interested in the pyramids?
Well, it's kind of a complicated story, as everything starts with childhood, you know. Well, since I was a kid, I've pretty much been interested in mythology and archaeology, and, you know, like my bedtime stories were stories like the Odyssey, you know. So I've always had this interest in, you know, for Egypt and ancient Greece, etc. And I went through an electrical engineering degree at McGill, and 2 years ago, okay, actually exactly this time in the summertime, I had read an article in the Toronto Star, okay, about Russian pyramids. And that really interested me, and at that point I was
Can I stop you right there, Edward? I didn't realize Russia had pyramids too. Now, I was aware of the ones, of course, in Egypt, in Giza.
Yeah.
I was aware of the ones in South America, but I didn't realize...
Yeah, well, the Russian pyramids are a little bit different. They're actually modern pyramids, okay? And that was spearheaded by Alexander Golod, who's... built over 40 pyramids across Russia and the post-Soviet Union, I guess. So that was a very interesting article. It was talking about how pyramid energy or pyramid power has had a lot of influence in the technical domain. Apparently, upon putting pyramids, for example, over an oil field in Bashkiria, they were able to increase the yield of oil over that area. They were able to also take seeds that were defective, have them increase in yield, produce greater, benefits for agricultural areas. There's the first one that was built right outside of Moscow, about 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's very interesting story. Alexander Golod was midway through construction, and some government officials had appeared at his doorstep or at the site, and had said that they found a blip on their radar, and they wanted to investigate what kind of construction was going on and what he intended to do with it. So it's quite interesting. That really got me going. I have a website that I went to. It's the GizaPyramid.com. And it's the Giza, Great Pyramid of Giza Research Association, spearheaded by Dr. John DeSalvo. And he's put together, I guess, a panel of engineers, physicists, mathematicians, all sorts of people with technical backgrounds who've had a different, point of view on pyramids and what they could possibly be as archaeological, artifacts, and much more. So that was very interesting. I mean, that really got me started. I think it all started with the Toronto Star article. So I was very interested in that, and it had a lot to do with electrical engineering, as pyramids and, I guess, antennas are very much related. So that was right up my alley, right?
So there it is.
Yeah.
Wow, I see. I've learned something already.
I'll tell you this. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you that I've been touched by the subject, and it's really made a difference in my in my degree and also my perspective on life. So.
Okay. Why do you think the pyramids were built. Last week we had a very interesting fella on from Spain. His name was Robert Boval. Yeah, and he was telling us a story, and in his research, where he feels that the pyramids are in line with the Orion constellation. And it goes back, of course, to ancient times when people actually believed, of course, that, as we do still today, that the gods come from the heavens. Mm-hmm. The idea being when a person dies, they're placed in a sarcophagus inside the pyramid, and there's a small little window, a small little port, that lets their soul, their spirit, escape directly into Orion. And then when Orion swings back around, they're somehow resurrected. I thought it was a fascinating subject. And of course, we touched on the possibilities of ETs, and he's friends with von Däniken and Däniken, and we were talking about those aspects. What are your feelings on the extraterrestrial aspects of perhaps people being aided in making the pyramids?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation on that front, and I mean, we all watch sci-fi. We all love sci-fi. I have an open mind. I do. Although I do feel like we really need to look at the evidence before we make such suggestions, and I think that is the role of an engineer at this point, because archaeologists have sort of really been caught up in their orthodox views and really taking an artifact, reverse engineering it, having a look at what the purpose of such a, I guess a device, what I would call it, would be, whether it be an architectural medium or something more, is really, really important at this stage of the game.
At this juncture.
Especially considering all this new age, this new age stuff, that's been floating around these days, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get to how, that really relates to aliens later on in the conversation.
Okay, I'm going to get you to speculate, because indeed you do come from a scientific background. And by the way, folks, our guest today is Edward Jerjian, and I did it again. Pronounce your last name for me?
Jerjian, yeah.
Jerjian, okay. Now, he's an expert on the pyramids, and as you all know, fans of this show, last week we had on Bovin. I keep calling him Bovin. Boval. And I don't know what's wrong with me tonight, folks,
That's
and
cool.
I do apologize just because I finished editing 7 o'clock this morning. And no, I'm not drinking. Michelle's sitting beside me going, yeah, you're drinking. I don't even drink, smoke, or do drugs. Boring. No vices. Let's speculate. I'm going to get you to speculate a little bit. How the hell did they move these huge boulders, some weighing as much as, I understand, 15 tons? And there was something like 2 million of them.
Yeah, 2.3 million stones. It's really astounding. I mean, there have been a lot of theories out there about ramps and like spiraling ramps and how they might have used slaves and had them, transport them on like, I guess, lumber and stuff like that. Levitation has also been out there. Some Japanese researchers did something on the silt of the Nile and how they were able to move these huge blocks by just throwing silt in front of them and having them slide over the very silky nature of the silt. So I mean, there's a theory out there. Okay, I'll put it out there that they may have not actually moved the blocks at all. Okay, there's a lot of work done on the composition of the stones themselves. All right.
Okay.
And those stones, at least the outer casing stones, may have been composed out of some sort of composite limestone. So they were sort of like bricks laid on the spot. They would be a pulp that they'd stuff into, I guess, a square wooden container, and they'd pat them down and then move on to the next block. Put some more in there, pat it down, let it dry, move on to the next one. So there's a lot out there, but I mean, the evidence suggests that it's not. It would have required an immense amount of, like, a huge engineering force, one way or another. So. How they built them is a really good question, and there's a lot out there to point that it might have not just been the typical ramp that we consider, in our,
That we've seen
original
in all those-
hypothesis, right?
Right, exactly. That we've seen in all those documentaries. I guess, if we start pulling it down virtually piece by piece by piece, then we would be able to find out what constituted the construction process, as
That's
well
right.
as, like you say, what makes up the inherent blocks themselves. I've never heard that theory before.
There's work being done at MIT, for example. There's work done at the Geopolymer Institute in France. They found, actually, it's very interesting. They found a sort of mortar in between the blocks themselves that were composed of what they call a polymer. Okay, and those have electrical properties. There's no real reason at this point for using such a, I guess, not chemical, but rather a polymer of some sort. So, I mean, I've got a theory, but
Go ahead.
Well,
Speculate.
the
Go
blocks
ahead.
themselves seem to have different polymers spread out throughout the structure, and from an engineering point of view, coating the top of blocks with polymers and the sides with polymers would indeed increase the capacitance of the shape. If you want to see the pyramid as not one shape, but rather smaller blocks that, in their own way,
Right.
do have an effect on the larger structure as a whole. So there could have been, an engineered there is an engineering explanation for it. Question is, we can't really dig deep into the pyramid, break it apart and have a look at what other parts, may have been spread in there, like what other polymers, what other types of stones. So, but at this point, it seems as though there was a reason for using a specific type of mortar. As you know, the blocks themselves, I mean, you can't even put a credit card or any business, it's like a tenth of an inch, packed very closely. Something we can't really do today. And I guess that mortar in between those stones is a very interesting alley to sort of investigate.
It sounds like it very much so. Now, you were also talking about the other pyramids around the world. Do their blocks constitute the same type of design, or are there integral differences?
There are differences. I mean, the pyramids throughout the world have depending on the area, you would have different, I guess, resources available to you. Okay, and that would change, the whole ball game. You're talking about indigenous resources. That's what they used, and they're not the same. We don't have Mesoamerican pyramids built in limestone. Most of them are built using other forms like mica, and it's. I haven't really looked at the pyramids in America as such, but I could tell you a good start is to look at the Great Pyramid of Giza and go from there.
Now, outside the three big pyramids that we know at Giza, there's 6 smaller pyramids, but they constitute a step pyramid style that's more, I guess, inherent with the South American style. Do you think that was a conscious decision to switch from because they are older, actually, folks, than the actual flat-face pyramids? Do you think that was a design decision, or do you think it might be something more along a spiritual realm, perhaps both?
Well, I think the idea behind these civilizations in the first place is to just build, I guess, a sort of skyscraper to reach the gods, as they would put it, The step-like nature to it, I'm sure, does have an effect. And from the perspective of, I guess, an electrical engineer who's studied microwaves and horn waveguides, and I mean, there are what are called ridged waveguides. Those are ones that take a sort of step-like nature to the antenna. Okay, so the actual step nature of those pyramids might have been indeed intentional. And for example, the step pyramid at Saqqara was not meant necessarily to replicate the smooth nature of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So it has to do with what that pyramid itself was intended to do, and what sort of resonance it was meant to achieve. And in general, like what may have even covered the face of these step pyramids, who knows? It might have been stripped, it might have been smooth to begin with, but there is a lot of research out there on, for example, pyramidal horns, which are a microwave device, an antenna that has a step-like nature to it. So, I mean, from that perspective, it could make quite a lot of sense.
Why the shape of a pyramid? You mentioned resonance before.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an inherent vibration that can be measured inside the pyramids?
There are. I mean, when you talk about pyramids and frequency, it's there's a lot in there. There are chambers with specific frequencies. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
The King's Chamber. There were some acoustical engineers who had gone in there at some point to measure. Because apparently the Great Pyramid has a great acoustical, design, sort of like an instrument. You can hear what's at the bottom of the pyramid, at the top. So they looked at many aspects of the acoustical, design. And the King's Chamber, as an example, measures 440 hertz. So its resonant frequency is 440 hertz.
It's middle A, folks, for us musicians. Yeah.
And that's actually the note in music.
That's right.
A note, right?
Yeah. That's right in the middle of the keyboard, folks. That's what the note that everybody tunes to all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware of that. Yeah, for sure.
Those musicians, eh?
Yeah. And
you want to hear a musician joke that kind of works in with this?
The note. Not the note, but rather when you utter the mantra.
Yeah.
It's meant to be at an A. A lot of indigenous instruments are measured at that frequency, and it does have a relationship to the speed of light as well, which is quite interesting.
Oh, what's the relationship? I didn't know this.
Well, if you take 440 hertz and square it, you get the value in miles per second for the speed of light.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of
cool.
literature out there. Actually, it was a physics professor at McGill who mentioned it to me. I mentioned it to him. He's like, "Oh, interesting." He was very skeptical about it, but he told me, "Wow, 440 hertz. That has that's a property of the speed of light." Or there's a lot of research out there concerning it. So
it's all harmonics. Then.
Yeah, it is. Just a note on the King's Chamber and just about the composition of the Great Pyramid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's composed of limestone, but there are parts, okay, of the Great Pyramid, for example, the King's Chamber, that is composed of a quartz granite blend, okay? And it's sort of like a dark green color.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about quartz is that, I mean, we have quartz in our CD players. It's got these inherent piezoelectric properties. Okay.
Okay.
And if you were to take two crystals, for example, quartz crystals, and rub them together, you would get an effect called triboluminescence. And if you do this in the dark, you could see that the crystals themselves, through the friction, okay, through the pressure exerted on them, will actually emit a light. Okay, it's the idea of piezo electrics is that kinetic energy be transmuted into electric energy. And so if you go to, and this is what the acoustical engineers had done in that chamber, at that frequency, that resonant frequency, they found that the walls themselves became electrically alive.
Oh, wow.
Meaning that if you were to put an electrostatic meter to the walls and emit a sound at that frequency, the walls would literally create an electric field around them. So the whole nature of the King's Chamber is very much electrical. And just looking at the Great Pyramid, it is in a crystalline form. Okay, which is very interesting.
And
so these are just things that sort of sparked my interest, and it's just something really worth looking into to a greater degree.
My mind now is flooded with a rash of questions.
Go ahead.
My first question right away is, do you think this was by design that they used the quartz, or do you think it was just something by accident?
Well, I'll answer your question by giving you another piece of evidence that sort of by default would say it is by design. the floor of the King's Chamber as well, has underneath it a series of, you can see it as an egg carton, sort of turned upside down. They're sort of like little pyramids or little domes that sort of don't touch the floor, but are underneath. And it's interesting, if you're going to build a chamber to house a pharaoh, why would you have this technique or this design underneath the floor that was not even visual, cannot be seen to begin with?
Right.
It's again to do with the acoustics, and I believe that the acoustics are, the first avenue to really, delve into when answering your question, was it by design? It's very much by design. It is an instrument. The Great Pyramid is a harp. Its music is what's very important, and it was very important to them, the Egyptians. So what that has to do with the rest of the chambers, I can get into maybe later on in our interview. Yeah,
absolutely. And folks, I just want to tell you, we're speaking with an incredibly intelligent man right now. He knows. He's educating me beyond belief here. Not that that's such a hard thing to do these days.
I try my best.
There you go. Edward Jerjian.
Yeah.
Thank you. Finally got it right, and I will edit that part out, folks, to make it actually sound like I know what I'm talking about. And usually I'm on the ball, but Edward, I have to apologize. I have that other show, and I will edit this part out too, called the Brent Holland Show. I was up till 7 o'clock this morning editing it, and my mind's just not firing on all cylinders. Not that it ever does, but
pulling all-nighters now. Huh?
Oh man, and I just celebrated my birthday on Monday, so I'm an old fart at this
birthday.
point. Well, thank you very much. I'm born on the cusp.
Feeling like an old man, or
oh, cripes.
Are you a Leo then? You're Leo.
Leo and Virgo. I'll let you decide which. Yeah, I'll let you decide which part of me is the Virgo and the Leo. To say nothing of the Newfie part of my body. Okay, so I'm getting off track there, but folks, we're speaking with. I'm having a blast tonight. This is great. One of my favorite people in all the world's right here, sitting beside me, Michel Desroachers from Canada's Most Haunted. Now, I'm just going to stop you there for a second, Edward, because Michel's been sitting here, and I know for a fact Michel's got a great story about the pyramids that she has shared with me on air and off air. Would you mind sharing that with the folks now? Michel Desroachers, folks.
Okay, I have definitely had the privilege of being to Egypt, because like Edward, I've always, just always had an interest in Egypt itself. I like history, culture, that sort of thing. Yeah. So I went back, oh God, we're talking a lot of years now, but I did go, and it really is a heavenly place. It's time just stands still, and you can't even describe in words just how magnificent these things are. They're beautiful. Structurally, they're a marvel. So I did have the luxury again of visiting the Step Pyramid and made my way through Egypt. Ended up in the Pyramid of Giza, and they're very poor in Egypt. You have to understand. So you can really pay your way through a lot, of interesting areas. So I had somebody close down the pyramid for me. It was unbeknownst to me. I didn't know they were going to do that. But
hold that a second. I'm just going to adjust your microphone because we're getting a little bit of feedback.
Want me to come back further?
Yeah, I
got the squeaky chair here too for.
I know, and I apologize for that. This studio, folks. If you want to donate some money. Okay, let's try that now. Let me just take this off.
Why don't I just take my...
There we go. Oh, no. Yeah, that's right. Everyone on radio, you don't know what I'm taking off. It's just like a little foamy thing on top of the microphone, a little puffy thing. Okay, here we go. We'll edit this part out, too. Okay. I got a lot of editing to do.
Wow, okay.
So you're in Egypt, and it's mystical, and it's magical.
And I have the entire pyramid to myself, and everything Edward says about the King's Chamber, it is that and more. It's spectacular. It's just, words can't describe. So anyway, I'm taking, photos, which, they definitely encourage. I don't like using a flash, but I got the luxury of playing around a little bit. And then he allowed me to go down into the Queen's Chamber. And I'm going down there literally almost on my knees. It was a heck of a way down. And when I came up, I popped my head through, there was a man standing there, and you know, he's in this kind of like short tunic. I'm thinking, all right, hello, where did you come from?
How old were you?
Yeah, I was 24. Worked for me, you know. But you know, but he was kind of looking at me a little confused, and I could tell by the way he was dressed. I mean, you know, having a certain degree of mediumship skills, I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I kept saying, trying to explain, you know, that you're dead. And it's amazing because there's really no language barrier, you know, in the afterlife. And he just kind of looked at me and didn't say too much. And I went, you know, you're dead. And I'm like, look at the way I'm dressed, look at the way you're dressed. And he basically said, you're dead. And I'm like, no, pretty sure too. And so anyway, it was kind of like, no. I'm thinking, okay, it's me. It's all me. I'm dead. I'm just, you know. But anyway, I asked him. I said, you know, what's the last thing you remember? And he said, well, I fell. Right? And he showed the motion of his hand, like I fell. And I'm like, exactly, you're dead. But anyway, with that said, I did ask that the big $1 million question, you know, and I said, you know, did you go up a ramp up around the pyramid? And then he motioned his hand going upward.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it was just me taking what I wanted out of it. But when he showed upward, going up the side of the pyramid, I kind of went, wow, that's interesting. So again, theory, you know, I mean, I'm talking to a dead guy here, so you know, it's not a modern day engineer by any means, but I took what I got out of it and went out very happy camper. So,
the parrot is dead. He has ceased to exist. Monty Python. I just dated myself very badly there. Right?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
So there you go. Any comments on that, Edward?
I haven't had the privilege of being inside. I'm very jealous at this point. But yeah, no, you know, there are many stories. You know, the pyramids. When you're inside the Great Pyramid, people are always, you know, it's a fantastical experience. You know, Alexander the Great went inside, and you know, he had some sort of mystical experience there. Napoleon left the king's chamber at some point. You know, where it was left inside, and then, you know, upon exiting, he thought he had seen God at some point, and he just had this look of fear on his face. So, yeah, I wanted to ask you: did you feel like it had a sort of effect on your body, maybe with the maybe a sense of fear or a sense of, I guess, well, I mean, you're in an enclosed space, but did you feel anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't go into a place that old, first of all. You know, like, because again, you know, dealing with psychic abilities too, you're just more sensitive to energies. So I found that, I mean, definitely not alone, but lots of energy in that place. Now, whether it's residual, just leftover stuff, because I mean, thousands of people a day go through this thing, you know. But I can tell you, the further I got to the bottom, the more I felt, actually. You know what I mean? As opposed to the top. So, and I don't know if it's just because it all funnels up, you know, like heat rises, maybe that sort of a theory. I don't know. But I also felt the same when I went into near the step pyramids. They have a tomb there of Imhotep, who basically was the architect for the step pyramid. And I went down about 140, I think it was 144 steps or something, and you're way down. And it was sort of the same effect, just like untouched, you know. But again, it's spectacular. I mean, I can't even, whether it's my own anxiety of, you know, I mean, I'm kissing the walls, like, yes, I'm here, you know. It's just, to me, the greatest place in the world to be. So whether it's a combination of that, you know, I try to look at things from a scientific standpoint as well. But sometimes my abilities, my spidey senses, as I call them, you know, takes me down another road. So I kind of have the best of both worlds that way. But all I tell people is if you have the opportunity to go, because you will never forget it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to plug you for a second here also. Let me rephrase that.
I'm like,
she's giving me this dirty look. Oh, really? You're going to plug me? I'm going to plug what Michelle does for a second. You've all heard of Casa Loma in Toronto.
Yeah.
by and large, most of you. She operates the ghost tours there. And I've been on one, and you won't walk away disappointed. That's all I'm going to say. As a matter of fact, you may walk away and want to go back again and again and again, because it is spectacular. Will creep the bejesus out of you. If you want to check out Michelle's website, very easy to do. Just go to the www.nightfrightshow.com and click on Michelle's picture, which I'm going to put up there, and it'll take you right to her website, and there's contact information there for her, and you can arrange either to go on the Burlington Ghost Walks, or you can go make an arrangement to go to Casa Loma. And I understand, just to continue on that line, Michelle, that you've got something special coming up for kids. Is that right?
There's a lot of events coming up over the course of the next 2 months. But yeah, Casa Loma will be doing events throughout the week of Halloween with us in the evenings. They're going to be opening up the stables, as well as the upstairs and the stable tower, which is never open to the public ever.
Oh, and I've been in there, and it's creepy.
Great, isn't it?
Ooh. Well, that's you're
okay.
putting that. I came out of there, I was shaking. Okay.
Yeah, and then we're going to be doing kids events throughout the day of the 30th and 31st, and
Nice.
we're going
October.
we're going to be showing, I always play EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, for those who don't know, that we captured at the castle. So they get to hear spirit voices. We're going to play a little bit of footage, and then we're going to send them off on their own to track through the castle.
I tell you, that place is really special, Love
It is.
Casa Loma myself.
Yeah, me too. I agree
Fond
with you.
memories as a child going there,
It's a great place. It's a playground for me, and I'll be there investigating
Playground.
again on Monday night. And playground indeed, yes.
Michelle has had people that have taken the ghost tours, actually, and they not only have they caught EVPs and things on their cameras and stuff, but they've actually been touched by invisible spirits, I guess you could say. So all that contact information, again, folks, will be on the www.nightfright website. We are speaking about the pyramids tonight with a young man by the name of Edward Jerjian. How old are you anyways?
I'm 23.
23?
Wow. Very knowledgeable.
My God, I'm not even that smart, and I'm double that.
Good for you, Edward.
And a McGill graduate to boot. Let's talk about my old hometown of Montreal. Did you bring any bagels with you?
I didn't, no.
Because
But memories of them, yes.
Oh, what passes for a bagel here in Ontario is an abomination.
It is.
Okay, back to the pyramids. It was a good segue that you brought up the vibrations and EVPs, because from my understanding, EVPs are lower frequency subharmonic vibrations. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what? It depends too whether you're dealing with, like a human aspect, that comes through at a certain megahertz, and then you have human spirit form that comes in at a certain megahertz, and then you have
I didn't know
demonic,
that.
which comes in at below 90 apparently.
Oh, is that
usually,
right?
Yeah. I don't usually, I'm not the one that analyzes all their EVPs because that's like too techy for me. So I just like to capture them and things of that nature, and I love to hear the end result, and everything in between is Pat's job.
Right.
But yeah, definitely we have equipment that can help. We have what's called an EM pump, and what that does is it kind of adds electromagnetic energy to the atmosphere, which helps them build up the energy to communicate. And then we have an REVP, or an RVP, gadget, which is supposed to lower our vibration a little bit. So when we're asking questions, they're going to hear it a little bit differently.
They're going to hear it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, bear with me now here, folks, for a second, because I just thought of this, actually. Edward was telling us, of course, that because of the quartz in the King's Chamber, it can create an electromagnetic field, if you will. And Edward feels it was made that way by design, and of course then there would be subharmonics, etc., etc. I'm just curious if the Egyptians were aware, or anybody else that made it a pyramid for that fact, perhaps that was like a launching pad then, also scientifically, for this spirit. Because if the spirit vibrates at a subharmonic frequency as well, perhaps this would act like an amplifier. And
there's a lot of people believe that the shaft, there's a north shaft,
right,
and a
little
south
tiny
shaft
shaft
to the King's Chamber.
Right.
and that these shafts were designed as, I guess, either air ventilation shafts or to transport the king's spirit to Orion or whatever else. Look, I believe very much so that if this is a device, it was a very spiritual one. It was a spiritual technology, yes. However, the evidence does show that the shafts themselves have a particular design. If you look at the north shaft, the width of the north shaft is 21.1 centimeters wide. The height is 14.3 centimeters high. And interestingly, the hydrogen line is a type of electromagnetic, I guess, residual radiation that is at 21 centimeters in wavelength and actually at 1.43 gigahertz in frequency. And what this tells us is that the shaft itself might have been designed to transport, or rather to collect, a specific type of frequency. Now, hydrogen lines are very interesting because they're the only type of radiation that could penetrate our atmosphere, cloud nebulae, dust particles in, throughout. You can basically use hydrogen lines to communicate with any other planet or star, whatever it is, within our own galaxy. And this is used, the hydrogen line, extensively in radio astronomy. It's really, really compelling that they had that knowledge to design a waveguide, what we would call a waveguide, to do just that. So whether or not this would have been conducive to the king's spirit, and to basically funnel that out is questionable right now. But it's interesting because they had the specific dimensions necessary to do that, and you need sometimes actually metals in order to create these waveguides. They could be created from dielectric substances like limestone, quartz, but also metal is very important. And they had found at the end of these shafts, when they sent cameras down, pieces of iron plated with gold. So it may have not just been a hole in the wall. It may have been designed for that specific purpose.
It sounds like the composition of the pyramids were made and chosen specifically not just for cosmetic reasons, but also for the properties of each one.
Absolutely.
Now, if you want, Michelle, you want to tell them? Go ahead. Your mic's on. Michelle's got something here she's just written down. Go ahead, you tell them.
Well, paranormally, when we go into haunted locations, and if you find limestone, near the foundation on the property, it actually enhances energy.
Really? Eh?
And sometimes, that's what people think are an actual haunting. I mean, sometimes it does. It attracts spirits because of all that energy.
Right.
But other times it's just, it enhances everything.
Wow.
So I wonder, even when they did that, because it was so spiritual, was there knowledge that maybe limestone would magnify, I guess?
You see, I find this absolutely fascinating that there's a science behind all this. There was a plan, if you will. It just wasn't by chance. Somebody actually mapped this out down to the centimeters, 21.1 centimeters, was that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I find that absolutely fascinating. Now, my question is, how did they come together with this knowledge? Where did it come from? Was it extraterrestrial? Was it... You think so? Michelle's nodding her head right here.
I do.
You do, eh?
You know what? I mean, you look on some hieroglyphics, for example, I mean, they show Egyptian people with, like, huge light bulbs. There's one.
Yeah, the dendra, the dendra bas-relief, yeah.
But yet, you think about it. Where did that come from? Considering, they were advanced for their time, but in the same respect, like, that's pretty advanced.
Yeah, it's very, the Orthodox community is not going to realize this until they really investigate this in full entirety. I mean, the Egyptians were a very knowledgeable civilization, but I have to say that from the very beginning, they were much more advanced, and they sort of declined, like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And it's the original knowledge, okay, that is very important here.
That's right.
Where they got it, I mean, I have the tendency to believe that it's very possible we could reach states of consciousness to understand the natural world and then later affect it, and that we might have been not necessarily channeled, but have become nature in order to later manipulate it. And I mean, you can say that aliens have come down. These aliens could have been us. In the future, we might, in fact, have the answer to time travel and go back in time in order to leave these messages behind. A hall of records like the Great Pyramid is not just the location of a teaching, but it is the teaching itself. And that's very important. I think before we say who built them, where we got this knowledge, we should understand what this knowledge really is.
And that's an important distinction as well. I want to talk to you a little bit about commonalities now in the various pyramids. Now, we're all familiar with the pyramids in South America, so let's just stay there now. Is there an inner chamber in those pyramids, or do you think it was maybe just coincidence that they were made in a pyramid shape?
No, there are chambers. I'll give you an example. Teotihuacan, okay, in Mexico. There's the pyramid of this. There's a whole complex there of pyramids, and there's some very interesting research done by Mr. McCullen, who's an engineer himself, I believe. His name is Colin McMullen, and he had taken the whole complex and found reason to believe that the chambers within these pyramids, the avenue of the dead that leads up to these pyramids, which is lined with mica, by the way, is actually all purposely designed as a sort of microwave circuit that is literally on the ground. Wow. So you could imagine the consequences of this. I mean, imagine building architecture for the purpose of channeling cosmic radiation, for channeling into specific chambers, and then later using these perhaps antennas to do whatever it is, either use them for power purposes, for transportation purposes, for spiritual purposes, whatever it might be. But most pyramids do have inner chambers within them, and there is a reason for that. So it's not just the outside structure that sort of gives it away. It's a lot to do with the inner core.
And again, I suspect that the materials that they made the pyramids in South America out of were important also in the construction.
Very much so.
To achieve the desired effect. It's funny, when you said that they were designed specifically for microwaves and things like that. I think now when they design cities and skyscrapers, they take into account wind and also sunlight and all those things. And it seems so minor to what these folks were actually making things to do,
How they knew.
Yes.
Okay, the very physics of electromagnetic radiation escapes me. But I don't get carried away with that. I think it's important to bring that to light before we start, speculating. But it is it's amazing. I have to say, Brent, like it's mind-boggling. I mean, did they see radiation? Did they feel it? How did they know? How did they measure it?
How would you measure it back then? How would you measure it back then? Also,
I mean, we ourselves are transducers. So I mean, we haven't unlocked a lot of abilities within ourselves. It's very possible it might have been us. So I wouldn't put it past us that a lot of this knowledge, as I said, came from, I guess, tapping into other forms of consciousness, other states of consciousness, in order to really understand nature in its full entirety. Transducing, from the environment. I mean, it's something not a lot of people spend their time doing. But if you meditate, you'll find that our bodies are very much electrical, and we are antennas in our own right. So.
Michelle, once again, is nodding her head. Would you like to add something, Michelle?
No, absolutely. I mean, we are made up of energy, right?
We all are,
It's
yes.
simple as that. The body is
Everything
but a
is,
vehicle,
actually.
right? And I mean, when the body ceases to be, you just become energy form again. So if you're looking at that way, the universe is energy. It's all energy. We all end up somehow intertwined, connecting back to the universe, whatever that may entail.
Well, this is a very important question now I have to ask you. Is when you die, can you manipulate your own energy so I don't have to look like Danny DeVito and I can look like Brad Pitt instead?
Apparently you can.
Yes! It's crucial.
I just have something actually to add on that.
Sure.
Now, when you die, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, the Egyptians had spent, the pharaohs specifically, had spent a lot of their lives, or the majority of their life, okay, just studying literature in order to understand what the afterlife will bring. For example, the Book of the Dead is
Exactly. Yes.
sort of like a story of Ra's passage through the underworld, something that we as human beings will have to do at some point, And it's apparently a 12-hour journey, okay, that they had to memorize. As long as they could keep their consciousness alive after death, they would reach their final destination, which would be the origin of the human spirit to begin with. So they really had a sort of like formula in a sense to just keep your mind going after death in order to, imagination is very important. If you at some point doubt that you exist after death, then you would literally disappear. You would, become one with the elements, and your consciousness would not survive.
Interesting theory. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, pharaohs spent like their entire lives preparing
for afterlife.
Death, afterlife. Yeah. That's why everything was thought out. Everything they brought with them, their wealth, certain foods, servants, favorite pets, everything went with them. So they would have everything, in the afterlife as well. So it was all about afterlife, and it was all very thought out.
But what about the poor schmuck that was actually, like the poor fellow that you ran into that had died? Would he have, you think, a cognizance of an afterlife as well? Or would he think that's only for the privileged class? Any idea? I guess that's maybe a little bit out of our realm.
I'll let you know when I get there. I'll go back and ask him. I think it's like anything, as theory goes, is if people die very suddenly, they don't even realize they're dead. This guy's looking at me.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
How do we know we're not the dead ones, really? Like, they're back into energy form. No, like, they're in energy form, and we're still in our the old...
I guess there's different levels.
Prison here, yeah.
And I guess we could really get esoteric.
You know what?
Quickly.
I mean, you can speculate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all theory at this point of the game, isn't it?
But we're trying to find... Do you think it's a lost knowledge, Edward? Do you think we've lost that knowledge? Or perhaps, as you said, the knowledge is the pyramid, and we just need to uncode it?
Well, that knowledge is not only found by studying the pyramid or having a look at what it can offer in terms of scientific knowledge and etc. I believe very much. I'm not a religious person. I do have faith, but I do believe that our religions, the spirituality that has sort of survived over this period of time, is sort of, and the mythology, that has survived, the traditions, are very much the manual to understanding what, for example, these structures like the pyramids could bring, the way we interface with nature. We haven't lost it. It's just right in front of us. We just need to understand it in the right way. And from what I can tell, I don't mean to be, draconian about it, but it seems as though there is one way, but not there's one destination, but there are many ways to get to that destination. It's just a matter of your indigenous, beliefs and how you were brought up. They all have an underlying connection. I would call it a hermetic one. It seems that a lot of our traditions are based on a very similar premise, and we haven't lost it.
In the Quran, it states, basically, I'll paraphrase it, there's as many ways to come to God as there is people in the world.
That's right. Everyone to their own.
Exactly.
But I do believe it takes some sort of, you don't have to, a scientist can reach, that position, a non-scientist can reach that position. It doesn't matter which way you go. It's not science versus religion. They're both the same.
Absolutely.
So as much as I do feel that, the pyramid, for example, pyramids across the world are indeed devices, they are indeed built by people who are very spiritual. And that is very important to keep in mind. And that's why I myself have gotten far in understanding this, because many people don't take that into account. And it's, take Isaac Newton. He studied more of alchemy than he did.
That's right, he did.
Science.
That's
right. in the modern science, what we'd attribute to him as modern science today. And he was a very religious person. Everybody who has really made contributions to science has had religion or spirituality on their side. It's very essential.
I had Dr. Collins on, Francis Collins. He's the fellow that led the team to break the genome on the Brent Holland show.
Really?
Yeah, always fascinating. And he's an extremely religious man, Christian. Mm-hmm. And now he's in charge of the American, what do they call it, Institute of Health. Obama's promoted him to that position. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, is this the blueprint that God would have made, in DNA I'm talking about now, folks, would have made for man? He said, absolutely, without question. So,
it's interesting. I just have something to add on the, I don't know if you've heard of this, but the DNA molecule, the human DNA molecule, has a really interesting geometry. As you know, it's a heliacal form.
That's right. It looks like a barber pole, the old barber pole, folks, if you want to just try and get a visual of that.
And that form has within it a specific geometry. The human genome, I can't speak for, not the genome, but the human DNA molecule. I can't speak for animals, but it has a phi-based, a golden ratio-based geometry. And that's been very interesting, because the Great Pyramid itself also has a lot of geometry that is related to the golden ratio.
Really, eh?
Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example, okay?
Sure.
It's
great.
If you were to take the base of the pyramid, okay, the square, and take half. Okay, we take a cross section, okay, of the pyramid, and we see that it's composed of, I guess, one large triangle and a right-angled triangle. If you take from the apex down to the middle of the square, you have what's called Kepler's triangle, and that is called the golden section. Now, the height of the Great Pyramid is related to the base in terms of phi. If you were to take half the base, okay, and the height, take the height divided by the base, you get the square root of phi, 1.272. Now, if you were to take the radius of the Earth, which is 6,378.1 kilometers, add it to the radius of the Moon, which is...
Are you sure?
Yes, which is 1,737
No, I'm just
divided again
okay,
by the radius of the Earth, you get square root phi. And this is based on...
geometry.
You can do this yourself, this calculation. The Great Pyramid within its geometry has many relationships that can tell us the geometry of celestial bodies, even our Earth. Take the word geometry. Geometry comes from the Greek word yi, from Gia, from the Earth. And metria means measurement. So you have geometria, which is Earth measurement. And that is what the pyramid is literally encoded within it the measurements of the Earth and many other aspects to do with, the Moon, the distance between the Earth and the Moon. I have some very compelling resources that I'd encourage your audience to look at. And this is the very essence of what, for example, Newton, and Kepler, and many other astronomers like Copernicus had delved into, to try and find the exact geometry of the Earth. Newton needed it to calculate his gravitational constant, and it's very interesting that they all looked towards this building. Currently, the most comprehensively surveyed building in the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza.
The Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, latter civilizations seem to have let go the whole pyramid concept. Even the Egyptian civilization seemed to let it go. Any speculation on why?
When you mean let it go, what are you...
Well,
what
you know, when Alexander came in and he took over Egypt, he, like, as you said, he visited the pyramids, but he never built one.
Right.
So, I come back to that question. Did the technology get lost? Was it purposely misled, or mislaid, I should say? And why did no one else pick up on it and carry it forward?
Well, the knowledge... Okay, I do believe that the knowledge was still there, but held tightly within certain circles. The priesthood at Memphis, for example, during the Old Kingdom, was responsible for holding this knowledge. It was Herodotus, who followed Pythagoras to Egypt. Pythagoras was one of the first Greeks to visit Egypt in order to discover more about geometry, to lay the foundations of trigonometry. But at some point down the road, even Alexander would have been versed in this, in this, or initiated into this, philosophy and into these sciences. But it is not under his it's not his jurisdiction to make that impact on history by building his own pyramid. It was very much the decision of those higher in the hierarchy, his teachers. I would put it that way. And take the example. Have you heard of the pyramids in China?
No, you have.
There
Michelle
are over
has. I
40 pyramids across China. They were built by the Uyghur Turks. You're talking about, you're talking about thousands of years after these pyramids are built. I mean, even the Chinese have pyramids within their indigenous lands.
Wow.
Question is why is it that, yes, Alexander didn't build a pyramid? Why didn't Napoleon build a pyramid? It's because it wasn't meant to be. It's these structures that that are meant to inspire. The question should still be there. We are in a time of darkness. We're supposed to be sort of misled. It's so that we can know what it is to be led, to understand what this knowledge is. I mean, sometimes you got to be on the opposite side of the coin to really appreciate later what the knowledge can bring. So it's really interesting. I'll give you an example. The Egyptians believed in a sort of cyclical version to time. Everybody believes in cycles when it comes to the ancients, and they had 5 sort of deities that would represent the course of time, and Kepler was the scarab beetle, who rolls that ball of dung in the morning time to represent the coming of the sun into the horizon, the rolling of the sun into the horizon. So Kepler was the beginning, the coming into being. That was at the beginning of the day. That was dawn. As soon as you reach midday, you have Ra, which is the height, the stubborn one, the one who brings a lot of heat. Then we have the deity Un, and we have considering Atum as well, which is the dusk time. And then we have the period of Amen, which is in darkness. And Amen is referring to the god Amun, which is the god of hidden animation. We say Amen at the end of our prayers for what? So let it be, correct?
Right.
So this is the period of time in Egyptian history, as per the oral traditions, that we are within the time, consciously and physically in time. In the time period of Amen, when things are meant to be hidden, we are not supposed to know how our prayers get actuated, but they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do in this hidden realm. So it's now that we're not supposed to know what this knowledge really is, but in the coming future we could appreciate it. And I think it wasn't really under Alexander's, it wasn't his decision to make. Even if he felt he was the great one, he had many powers above him, those that he must respect, including time itself.
Well, I'm going to throw this out here right now. December 21st, 2012. you think we'll be ushering in a period of enlightenment and coming out of the darkness?
There's been a lot of speculation as to what that might mean. One thing's for sure, we do have, there is the possibility of polar shifts. The sun's poles might flip. It's really interesting. Actually, a friend of mine had mentioned the other day. Right now, our atmosphere experiences a DC magnetic field. Like it's a direct current. It's not really fluctuating. It's very weak. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this 2012 stuff comes at the same. It has to do also with the coming of the Messiah and the coming of, Jesus' new kingdom, etc. There's a lot of just Armageddon talk, right?
That's right. Yeah, we did a whole series on it, by the way, folks. www.nightfrightshow.com. There's 4 shows there on it. Actually, there's a ton of shows there. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
And the coming of the kingdom, quote unquote, of Christ, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Christ is being compared to the sun as well. He's very much that Horus, or that Horus Ra, okay, comparable to the Egyptian religion, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the kingdom of Christ may in fact be, okay, a change in the sun's nature. It might, instead of having very sparse sunspots, sun flares, it may indeed be very violent at some point. In that we might have an alignment of the stars and planets, such that the sun receives a lot of radiation that makes it very violent. And in that sense of the word, our atmosphere will itself become violent. The ionosphere will undergo many changes, and indeed it could mean that we will experience in the future an AC atmosphere, that our magnetic field might be indeed AC, which would mean that metals, for example, would be rendered useless. It's like a massive EMP. And it could be the reason why many of these cultures never used in full entirety metals. They used always stones, rocks, more earthly things. So it's very interesting that we can maybe take our religious philosophy and turn it to science and say, in what way or form does astrology play a part in the coming future, which I don't believe is the end of the world, but the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, but as advanced as the sciences were in these ancient civilizations, I hearken back to the South American civilizations, that they were still doing human sacrifices. So you have this dichotomy right away. In one sense, they're so advanced. It's kind of like us today, isn't it? We're so advanced with science, and yet we still go around shooting each other's asses off. Doesn't make any sense. And yet we can go to the moon, we can send rovers to Mars and beyond our solar system. So I don't know. There's always that dichotomy where we're always fighting with our animal cells, if you will, which I call the lower part, with the higher part that can obtain so much. So I don't know if that's a balance that we are supposed to be keeping.
And you're absolutely. There's something we have yet to experience, and I would put it experience again. It's the cycles. I mean, you take the Indian philosophy, the yugas, the coming of the yugas, the changing of time itself is very interesting. I do believe we're going to experience in our lifetime. We're lucky, We might be unlucky because it might cost a lot of human lives. But I really do believe that there's a coming age that we must reconcile with. And it's going to be very difficult because our ancestors for thousands of years have been left in darkness, and we're privileged to even have a hint of what they might have been thinking about.
That's right. And let's hope we put our energies into that instead of building the next nuclear bomb.
That's correct.
We're going to have to start to wrap up now. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and you got to come back. You know that now.
I wanted to let you know. I mean, you have so many people, on your show with who published books, and they're well-published authors. That prompted me to put up a blog, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
It's called Pyramid Time, and if you want to just catch up on what I was saying, and keep up on what I would call pyramidology, then I do encourage your audiences and you yourself to have a look at that. It's pyramidtime.blogspot.com.
Could you do me a favor also? Can you send me an email with that information on it, and I will put it on the website, www.nightfrightshow, and you can email Edward directly and read his blog, and Edward will be back. Are you single, Edward? Because there's a lot of co-eds probably listening right now.
Really? Yeah, I am single.
Et voilà, monsieur.
Now Brent's playing matchmaker, a.k.a. Cupid.
No need to do that, Brent. No need to do that.
It's okay. My honey's been away for 10 days. It's like, get home now.
Yeah.
It's enough now.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. I mean, there are a lot of things I've missed out. I feel like another pyramid talk is well warranted.
Absolutely, and definitely you got to come back, and we'll do some more of this. And Joel will be here next time. Joel took the night off tonight.
Okay.
We were out the other night celebrating my birthday, I'm afraid, and it was a little bit of a late night for him. So, needless to say, as we crawled down the street together. All that to say, I want to thank you so much in all seriousness. I have learned a lot tonight, as I always do from this show, and I'm sure our listeners have as well. This show, just to let you know, Edward, is broadcast across the NCRA network, which is all the universities from coast to coast to coast, 3 coasts, of course, as I always say, in Canada, and will be on our website in the archives forever. The archives, folks, you can go to www.nightfrightshow.com. All the archives are there, free for you to download. There's shows with Michelle O'Shea there, Canada's Most Haunted, who's our guest live in studio tonight. Also, there's shows on Bigfoot. There's shows, we do a lot of stuff on the Kennedy assassination and all the assassinations. There's over 75 shows there now, I think, so please do enjoy. And email Edward if you're single. There you go. And once again, thank you so much, Edward. And we'll be in touch, my friend.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too, my friend. Thanks again, eh?
Bye.
Bye now. Well, that was really interesting. I sincerely enjoyed that. Wasn't it great?
It was really informative. And here I didn't even know we were doing Egyptian, talking about my Egyptian pyramid.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
No, it was great.
It was great, yeah. For Joel the Shadow, for Michelle O'Shea, and Edward Jerjian, I'm Brent Holland. You've been listening to Night Fright. Thank you all. See you next time.